Welcome to a presentation from the Luke Waits Center for Dyslexia and Learning Disorders, located in Scottish Rite for Children's Dallas campus. Scottish Rite for Children is one of the nation's leading pediatric centers for the treatment of orthopedic conditions, certain related neurological and arthritic disorders, and through the Luke Waits Center, the organization also offers expertise in learning disorders, including dyslexia. Dr. Luke Waits, our founder, was a neurologist who was invited to join Scottish Rite in the mid-1960s. He supported the hospital's neurology needs and also continued his work of studying dyslexia and brought his existing dyslexia clinic along with him. Our center has been part of Scottish Rite since 1965. Our department provides a variety of services, including dyslexia training for students and teachers, research, outreach, and diagnostics. The Center for Dyslexia offers services when there will be a difference in the educational outcome of a child with academic problems. We also have the opportunity to address comorbid or coexisting mental health diagnoses, ADHD, anxiety, depression, etc., in the context of the evaluation, as long as the primary concern is academics. For more than 55 years, we have also been developing curricula and interventions to help children with dyslexia learn how to read. We implement the curricula and conduct research in an ongoing effort of continuously improving and adapting the program in order to provide the best options possible.
Hi, thanks for joining me today. My name is Stephanie Forbes, and I'm the Center Coordinator for the Luke Waits Center for Dyslexia and Learning Disorders at Scottish Rite for Children. Today we're going to be taking a few minutes to talk about screen time. This is one of my favorite conversations and certainly one of the questions I get the most frequently in my patient-family interactions. They ask me things like, how much time is too much time? And what are the guidelines on screen time? I also get things like, does screen time cause ADHD? Or, how do I know if there's a limit? When my child watches screens, they become completely different people. Is this normal? Let's answer these questions, plus a few more. Screen time is a compilation of the activities that require screens and the amount of time the child spends using a device with a screen. This can include time watching television, like cartoons, reality shows, documentaries, game shows, talk shows, browsing the internet, so streaming videos, our friends TikTok and YouTube, online gaming, social media correspondence. This can include the use of tablets, creating, drawing, reading, writing documents, computer games, listening to music. All of those things can come across. It might include using a cell phone, playing a video game, researching interesting information, completing homework. It can even include visiting with Grammy 2 states away via video call. Interestingly, since 2015, there has been a pretty substantial drop in the amount of time spent watching TV on a television set versus watching videos online, so things like TikTok or YouTube videos. This has grown astronomically in the past decade. Many tweens and teens indicate video viewing is one of their favorite activities. Another interesting tidbit, by the age of 11, more than half of the children in our area have their own smartphone. By the age of 12, more than 2/3 of kiddos have a smartphone. Even more alarming than that, by the age of 8, 20% of children have a smartphone in their hands. When you pair the huge number of children with smartphones with the immediate access of technology, our digital natives are surrounded at all times. Here's what we know. Children under the age of 2 do not learn from screens as well as they do from live interactions. As a matter of fact, most children and teens, for that matter, most adults, don't learn as well from screens as they do from face-to-face encounters. On average, 8 to 12-year-old children in the United States spend 4 to 6 hours per day watching or using screens. The average time is about 4 hours and 45 minutes. For teenagers, up to 9 hours with an average of about 7.5. While screens are often necessary for schoolwork, it's important to maintain a healthy limit on browsing, on video game playing time. It's important to make sure they're taking frequent breaks, and it's important to avoid long periods of sitting for reasons we'll talk about in just a little bit. Both the American Academy of Pediatrics and the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry recommend very similar guidelines. From birth to 18 months old, we should avoid screens unless we're providing direct screen FaceTime with long-distance family. From 18 to 24 months, screens should be used in a very limited manner, only for educational purposes and with direct parent or educator interaction. 2 to 5 years old, non-educational time should be limited to 1 hour per weekday and 2 to 3 on the weekends. And for kiddos ages 6 and above, we want to make sure they're doing less than 2 hours per day of recreational playtime on screens. Let's talk some happy things first, shall we? Screens can entertain, teach, and keep children occupied. Technology allows children with endless access to information and opportunities. When balanced with other activities and teaching models, screen time can be good for learning and development. This is particularly true when using age-appropriate media that explores interests and ideas and helps to produce content instead of simply consuming it. When my teenager has questions about a particular subject, occupation, or trend, which I often have no clue how to respond to, he'll say, "Never mind, Mom, I'll just search it up." And then he proceeds to use his smartphone to look up the answer to his question. I, as an excellent parent, look up and say, "Teach me about what you just learned." Insert 13-year-old eye roll here. Oh, Mom, ridiculous, right? But I like to know what it is he's learned and what it is he's talking about. Unfortunately, by the time I catch on to the trends, it is often no longer a trend and we have moved on to something else. Further, many online games teach strategic thinking and reasoning without feeling like work. We can learn from mistakes made and try different ways of solving the same problem. Technology can allow children and teens the opportunity to rekindle friendships that may have been lost with a change in schools or a physical move. Online socialization can also take away boundaries and limitations that might be present in their everyday world. Perhaps they have a very specific interest, such as chess, and there are no children in their current school or in their current neighborhood who are also interested in chess. Being able to look online and to find other folks who have the same interest can really open their boundaries and can help them feel like fish in a much bigger sea. The challenge with technology providing such a high level of social interaction is when we discipline our adolescents and we discipline our teenagers, we often take away technology. That can sometimes be their only source of social interaction. So taking technology away for extended periods of time can actually be very harmful. I did not just say, don't take away technology as a discipline. What I said was consider the ramifications on the social interaction. So we want to make sure that we think about the repercussions and we try to help them develop some outside interests and activities as well. Online platforms and apps such as e-readers and programs designed to target reading, writing, and math can help prepare children for entering elementary school or provide a nice reinforcement of skills over the summer before starting a new school year. When engaging in academic learning online, parents should co-view what's happening to ensure appropriateness. Once in school, online programs can support learning challenges. For example, children with dyslexia struggle with reading and spelling. Online programs can help provide audiobooks, can support spelling with dictation support and things like that, which can be incredibly helpful. Similarly, children who have dysgraphia struggle with spelling and handwriting. Again, using online support, we can alleviate some of the difficulties that come with handwriting and we can help support spelling. Computer programs, including Word, Google Docs, things like that, can provide access to spell check, word prediction, and dictation support. What an excellent use of online tools. Here's the big, scary slide. Any use of screens, regardless of the initial goal, can expose children to all sorts of mature subject matter. Have you been told, "Well, I read online," followed by a very interesting and obviously overstated piece of information? While there's a lot of good material to be found online, there can also be frequent negative stereotypes and misleading or inaccurate information promoted. We can't control who posts what, and we certainly can't ensure the information is valid and reliable. As you're probably aware, anything we look up, request, or shop for online shows up the next day on our social media threads or in our email inbox. This is the same for children. Based on their searches, advertising aimed at bringing them into external sites arises. Some of this may appear harmless at first, but there can be some much more inappropriate material beyond that initial page. Okay, screen time cons. Before we talk about this, keep in mind there is not a firmly defined causal relationship between screen time and these effects. That means there could be additional underlying reasons for what we're going to talk about next. If you think there's more to it than screen time health, talk to your child's physician and make a plan. Screen time has been linked to lower levels of physical fitness and problems with mental health and social development. You might find higher obesity rates, lower self-esteem, challenges with school performance because they're spending less time on homework and more time on video games, and unhealthy eating habits. For example, they're distracted while they're eating because they're watching and they may not recognize they're full. Children and teens who spend too much time in front of a screen might appear to have difficulty concentrating in school or on other hobbies. They can come across as lonely, sad, hopeless, tired, isolated, withdrawn, aggressive, angry, and they might experience emotional outbursts such as trouble making or keeping friends, especially when they're asked not to engage in screen-based activities. The best outcome in teens are those that engage in 1 hour of physical activity each day, sleep 8 to 10 hours per night, and use screens for non-school related activities for less than 2 hours per day. Meeting sleep, screen time, and physical activity recommendations is associated with the best mental health outcomes in teens. But few meet all three of these goals. ADHD is one of my favorite topics of conversation. It's a persistent pattern of inattention and/or hyperactivity impulsivity that interferes with social, academic, or occupational functioning and development. Symptoms have to be present before the age of 12 and apparent in 2 or more settings. Some of the symptoms might include distractibility, challenges with focus and attention, limited concentration, disorganization, restlessness, chattiness, and high activity level, just to name a few. Every child with ADHD is a child with ADHD. Much like fingerprints, they all share similar components, but are unique in their symptoms, presentation, and impact. Why is this important in today's conversation? Because 8 to 10% of our children have been diagnosed with ADHD or have symptoms of ADHD that have not yet been recognized. That means a large portion of listeners are living this right now. So what does screen time look like when it's paired with ADHD? This can look like time management challenges. Kiddos can spend hours in front of a screen without realizing how much time has passed. As a parent, rather than saying, "Okay, Johnny, 10 more minutes," instead, have a chat with the child about the goal of the game. What do they want to achieve before hitting a stopping point? Rather than a time element, perhaps request they unplug at the end of a round or after they have mastered a minor quest. If the child responds appropriately and in a timely manner, without undue complaints to your request, make sure to provide genuine praise. Focusing on screens can eat away at precious moments of attention. The energy spent on solving a digital problem, formulating a lengthy text, etc., might usurp the valuable brain power that could be used on other activities, like homework. Additionally, the short attention spans that come with ADHD crave the frequent energy bursts that shows and games can provide. There are sounds, actions, graphics that provide constant gratification. Electronics can feed dopamine and being straight to the brain's reward center. Sleep challenges can be particularly cumbersome in children with ADHD. Exposures to the blue lights and overstimulation that come with screen time can make sleeping even more difficult. It's important to turn off all screens 30 minutes to an hour before bed and to keep all screens, including cell phones, out of the bedroom. Children diagnosed with ADHD can struggle with impulse control. They might be more likely to engage in high-risk behaviors such as watching inappropriate videos, communicating with inappropriate people, or sharing sexually explicit videos or texts. While ADHD and screens can be adversaries, there are also some perks that go along with technology and our less focused little people. For example, many children with ADHD need some form of noise to facilitate studying and the onset of sleep. Background noise, such as instrumental music, can be helpful in tuning out distractions in the surrounding environment. Speaking of distractions, there are also apps that can serve as distraction blockers. These apps can block websites and apps on devices for a designated time frame. You might consider apps specific to time tracking. Allowing kiddos to see how much time remains can help with task persistence. Organization an issue? There's an app for that too. There are programs available to support organization of materials, password maintenance, money management, scheduling, etc., which can be helpful for everyone, not just those with ADHD. There are too many apps on the market to indicate any one that is just right. Make sure you do your research and find the right fit for your family. Okay, back to the scary stuff for just a minute. Addiction of any type is an inability to stop using a substance or engaging in a behavior despite a negative consequence. When engaging in a pleasurable activity, the reward center of the brain releases dopamine. Addiction comes when someone is frequently seeking the release of the dopamine. A constant state of hyperarousal can cause decreased immune function, irritability, feeling jittery, sadness, and unstable blood sugar levels. Symptoms of screen time addiction might include appearing angry or depressed when asked to stop playing or watching, an inability to walk away from the screen. Just one more minute can go on for hours. Challenges with inattention even when not in front of games, and a shift in priorities. You might also see elevated levels of aggression and poor social interactions, perhaps because screen-based activities put the central nervous system into a revved-up state. Screen time addiction can include spending money on games or screens that they cannot afford and lying to others about the money or time they spend on screen time activities. Actual screen addiction is incredibly rare. The gaming disorder, which is provided in ICD-11, is diagnosed in only 1 to 4% of gamers, which is more than 2.5 billion worldwide. All right, so we've talked about the challenges. What can we do to support healthy choices? We should encourage healthy screen usage throughout the family. When engaging in activities, ask for screen-free zones. This should include family meals and outings. With young children, don't use screen time as a babysitter. While it can be a handy tool in small doses, don't make screens the primary source of distraction. Consider replacing screen time with green time. Research tells us that going outside for walks, jogs, or bike rides facilitates attention, reduces anxiety, and helps with sleep. This can also help reset our brains in preparation for rest. If we take away the blue screens and provide an active replacement, the onset of sleep can be easier. Co-viewing media with parents can protect young kids against the many downsides of screen time. It's also important to keep an open line of communication around media to protect kiddos when they run into the content they're not ready to see. I'm going to encourage you parents to ask the questions. What's the story about? What's happening next? Who are the characters? What do you like or not like about this show? Investigate what they're interested in and be an active listener in what they tell you. Encourage creative use of technology. Have the child take photos or videos of interesting things and then research additional information. Use technology to explain things to others. They could create short how-to videos that require imagination, step-by-step detailing, and organization of ideas. Choose apps that will help enhance areas of interest. For example, do you have a child who wants to be a veterinarian? Have them do some research on animal sciences. While there are socialization positives with technology, we want to ensure children don't lose the ability to be people. It's important to connect directly with family and friends and to learn the nuances of personal interactions and communication. Insisting on activities outside of technology is also important. Hobbies and extracurriculars of all kinds are available for a variety of ages and costs. This part can be a little more challenging. Take a cautious approach to limit setting. Simply banning all screens can backfire. Use your judgment to set limits. Establish boundaries and limits around the use of screens with the child. It's important for them to take an active role in the healthy use and in the recognition of their own needs when it comes to screens. Gaming and social interactions online can be a healthy outlet. In order to discover what they're doing, it's important to have a non-judgmental conversation. Once comfortable discussing their online usage, then boundaries and consequences can be established. I'm going to encourage you to use screens in common areas. Verify the appropriateness of the content. Set hard and fast times for when the screens will be turned off. Create a family plan and stick to it. If you need a tool that includes talking points for kiddos, consider customizing the family media plan to fit the needs of your households. It was crafted by the American Academy of Pediatrics and is available online at no charge. You can pick and choose from the listed components or use the full plan. This could include media priorities, practical tips, safety and privacy, and the ability to shift or change as children age and priorities become different. There are many parental control apps on the market, some with no cost, others with a premium price tag. It just depends on what you're hunting. The bulk of these apps include filtering and blocking content and websites with explicit materials, setting time limits, providing location services. Every major operating system, Microsoft Windows, Apple macOS, Amazon Fire, offer settings to help avoid accessing inappropriate sites. Do your research. Check out websites like parentalcontrolnow.org and commonsensemedia.org for recommendations and additional details. As technology evolves, so must our interaction and awareness of the good, bad, and ugly. Let's make screen time our friend rather than our foe. Thank you for spending part of your day with me today. We at the Luke Waite Center for Dyslexia and Learning Disorders appreciate your time and hope that you'll watch some of our other videos. If you have any questions about this, you're welcome to send us an email at lwcdpresentations@tsrh.org. Have a great day.